All right, all right. I'm going to be filming a pretty simple training for you guys right now, and you're going to be getting some coffee shop vibes because I got a lot of noise around me, but want to get this done because this has been helping the people that we work with quite a lot, our growth partnerships, who are not all info product businesses, but a lot of them are. And so in this case, I want you guys to see this specific way to film a program in a very short amount of time, leveraging other people's resources and getting a little bit creative. And by no means am I saying this is easy. This is probably a little bit more advanced than anything. The easiest way to film a program is honestly just kind of script it out and then just film it, right? Set a big outline, cover the main bases of what you know people suffer from, and that's going to be the most simplistic approach. However, that doesn't scale usually, and usually doesn't get the best results. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to kind of record this thing as I go through. But I want you guys to see specifically how this works. So you guys should be seeing a pretty glowing screen right now, and probably my face as well. And here's what we're going to do. Okay. So we use a couple different models in our business, and some of those we've collected over time. If we use any specific model that we didn't come up with, we're going to explicitly say so because we do want to credit the original creators of those models. As to us, that is very important that we make it known that it didn't come from us. However, we usually build on top of it and we kind of make it our own based on what we see working. Now, we could go through the trouble of like redesigning it a certain percentage, but there's just some things that we're like, we should give credit to them because we actually love what they do. And in our world, it's actually better if you use some of their models and go take their coaching program because then you come back to us when you're ready and you're so much more qualified to do the work that we want to do with you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is something that is called a triangle model. Okay, and now a triangle model, we didn't design. That's why I prefaced this whole thing. And the triangle model comes from a guy named Taki Moore, and you can go look up his stuff. Okay. I don't want to be a coach of coaches. Talk is a coach of coaches. All right. We just want to help brands scale. So with that being said, you need to have a really good offer. And the way that Talkie teaches this, and of course, you can go find his content and learn directly from him. But here's what I will tell you. The way that he teaches is that this center thing right here, all right, is kind of your objective. That's your goal. That's the thing that the people want. That's the transformation. Okay. Then there are typically three things three roadblocks, if you will, keeping people from that transformation. Now you could create more, but this is just an easy model to kind of break it down and keep the main thing the main thing. 4 sometimes feels like too many. 2 doesn't feel like enough. 3 makes sense logically to the brain. Okay. Then there are the things that they want instead. Okay. And the things they want instead usually are the opposite of the thing keeping them from getting the thing. But one thing is for sure, if these things are in place, okay, and they don't have whatever this thing is, at the end of the day, they cannot get this thing because there's a roadblock there. Now, if they eliminate the roadblocks, by default, they end up getting that transformation. However, those things that you need to install typically have different pieces to them, okay? So these are going to be the things broken down. If you will, these are modules, okay, of a program. Now, not here, we have other videos going over this stuff. I'm not here to break down like program structure to you guys, but what I want you to show you is how you can take an entire piece of this module and get it filmed in a very unconventional way. And so here's what I'm going to show you. All right. I'm going to use an example from another program that we're involved with. Okay. Now, this is a consultant who, for the longest time, is considered a super elite expert. In fact, there's almost no one we can find that actually does what she does. And so she's kind of carved her own piece of the market in the medical spa world. Okay. Now, what's really interesting about this is this woman specifically this is one of our growth partnerships, and this woman specifically came from running super high level spas across different parts of the world, entire continents. And so she was working on behalf of a larger group that owned a whole chain. And so she was responsible for directly making these places more successful until she wanted to go on her own. And so that's what she did. She built a program, but the program was good. It wasn't great. And people were confused. People were not getting to where they wanted to go. And at the end of the day, she was having a very hard time scaling it. And so she kept falling back into this one-on-one trap. Okay, she kept doing this one-on-one thing. Now, what's interesting is after 2 years of working together, they've finally cracked the code on their offer because, as you know, the offer can be one of the most difficult things to actually get down. And it can take a lot of time and in some cases, years. I mean, I know people who have been working on different offers for 6 to 8 years and finally they crack the code and then it just scales like nothing they've seen before. But sometimes it takes all that pain and suffering. If you get lucky, you get it right up front. If you are more normal, it's going to take you some time. So with that said, we've helped build offers from the ground up. We don't love it. We've done it. What we prefer is to obviously have validated offers because, as you know, product market fit is like one of the most difficult things in business. And so, again, some people get it to click right up front. Other people, it just takes a lot more time. And usually it's either a lot of time or a lot of money, and sometimes both. Okay, because if you have a lot of money to start, then you could spend money on things like ads and a team to kind of do the thinking and the figuring out for you. If you're not coming into this business with a lot of money, then it's going to take a lot of your time, energy, and to sustain the business that entire time, even if it's just you, could mean a lot of money. Okay. So either way, this is usually a little bit faster because you can hire talented people. This is usually a little bit slower unless it clicks right up front and you get really lucky with the product market fit. All right. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. How do you accelerate the process of getting an entire section of this thing filmed once it's fully outlined? All right, we're going to get right into that. One thing I want to mention first is typically what you'll do is you'll kind of realize that, you know, this becomes like the main section of your course. Okay, so the entire thing is sold as they want this. This is the result they want, and then let's just say whatever this desirable thing is, that's the opposite of this thing they don't want, that's currently in the way of them getting their thing, and so therefore that side of the triangle, if you will, is non-existent. They can't have the thing. All right, they have to have these obstacles out of the way in order to have the transformation. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a well-designed roadmap in the first place, right? And you probably don't understand your market in that case. And maybe you need to go do more of the thing before you're teaching the thing. But if you have done the thing and you've been in the trenches and you've gotten the results, then you can teach the thing. You're an expert and you want to sell your stuff online. So with that said, right, this is kind of how normally the program breaks down. That's going to be a major section, that's going to be a major section, and that's going to be a major section. Now, the sub-modules within those main sections or modules, if you will, are going to be these guys. And these are usually going to be part of the outline. So if we have a 1, a 2, and a 3 for those main sections, there's other sections that go into this. Like I said, this is not how to build a program, but you'll usually have a welcome. And then below that, after they do all that, you'll have like what happens next. Okay. And obviously that leads them into an ascension model with you. Whoops, that was supposed to be a stair step. Right. So hopefully they work one-on-one with you and they're just increasing the amount that they spend, the time spent with you, and overall becoming a more ideal customer, because that is how you build LTV, which is lifetime value of the client. And ultimately hopefully that's what you're trying to increase for your business, because it means you have less customers and they're spending more money with you, because getting customers is the hardest part and the most expensive. So you really want your existing customers to be spending more money with you over time. Okay. A lot of little breakout lessons we could have in here, but let's keep the main thing the main thing. So imagine this is your green sections that you saw above, okay? Now, under those are going to be your sections or modules, however you want to break that down. And so let's call that A, B, whoops, B, just so you can see. Okay, so that might be A, that might be B, but then there might even be a video or two in there. This is kind of the general way to lay this out. But let's say you wanted to knock this entire thing out and either get paid for it or at the same time, just force yourself to do it in a better way than you otherwise would have. And the way to do that is to have an audience when you're doing it. And then another way to do it is to have a timeline. So let's get out of this messy thing down here. All right. So you have an audience times timeline. Or you could say like a time container, okay? A restraint, okay? Now, this little formula, if you will, what does that equal? At the end of the day, what that equals overall is a better quality program, okay? So you could almost use this as a little formula. And we're creating that formula on the spot, by the way. Audience times timeline, or the restraint that you give the container, equals a better quality program. Why? And this is obviously like teaching it in this format. Why? Well, let's show you the difference. All right. So let's say you're going to pre-film. That's one option, is you take all those modules, you lay it out, and then you just go hammer through it, film all those videos. Cool. Then on the other side, you do this one live. Now, don't worry about all the caveats that come with doing it live. There's a lot of things that go into that, but we're not going to talk about those here. That'll have to be another video. However, in the live segmentation, like in this scenario, we're going to do it live versus pre-filmed. You need an audience. Okay, that's one of the main things we're about to talk about. This, you just need your camera set up, which could be as simple as your iPhone and some simple audio. As long as it's quiet and you don't have a lot of echo, you could do that. You could buy a cheap microphone or an expensive microphone, whichever way you want to do it. You need an outline of the program. And you need some sort of model to do it off of, so you don't overcomplicate. We already covered the model earlier. Again, by talking more, we don't take credit for that model. And he calls it the triangle model. And it's very powerful, and it's one of the integral pieces of their program. And again, if you're in the phase of like trying to design an offer, I would just go work with someone like that, right? Don't come to us for designing your offer. At the end of the day, to do it live, you need an audience. You also need a general outline, except it doesn't often have to be as detailed. The other thing that you need is you need some sort of model. And in this case, you need a slice of the model, because you're going to go a little bit deeper with these people on less material. Or a better way to say this might be less width. Okay, you're going to go less wide. And the reason why is because you cannot deliver an entire program. Like, to change a business truly is going to take 6 months to a year. I don't care if you could do some tomorrow and get quick results, but every business owner knows, especially who's been building businesses for a long time, especially if you're making money, you know that it's not an overnight fix, and it takes time for your team to adapt to things, for systems to be fully workable, and to even see the data building behind you so you can properly reflect and say, this was a good move and this was not a good move. Okay. It's the only thing that can do that is data behind you in a trailing sense. You need to be able to review it and go, this was better than that. How do you know? Because we have the data to back it up, not because it feels different, but because we can show you with the data. And so with that said, live versus, and I'm going to just highlight that, right? Live versus pre-filmed. Okay. In the live sense, you need to be thinking differently. Now, how do you think differently over here versus over here? Well, you need to be able to crunch learning curve. You need to be able to shorten it, okay? You need to shorten the learning curve. Here, not worried as much on timeline. You can give it, I think you can accomplish this in 6 months or 2 months or 6 weeks or whatever, but you're not really worried about timeline, because this is a do it on your own time. Okay. Now I'm doing a little bit of a comparison between live and pre-film here, so I'm getting a little deeper than I really want to in this, but I'm going to just mention a couple more things about it, and then we're going to get to, okay, how would you actually make this happen then if you maybe don't have the audience and some of these things. So I'm going to call some of this stuff as we go, right? So like audience, that's one of the main topics of this video, for example. And then thinking differently, okay? So let me just wrap this, and then we're going to get into how you actually will leverage this in your market and use some experts in your market who might have pretty big audiences. So with that being said, all right, so thinking differently, you got to crunch the learning curve. You have to almost like perform in a way, which could be kind of scary for people, but it forces you to deliver better. Forces, and I love this word because forces better delivery. All right. Just like how deadlines help us do things faster and better. Well, maybe not better if you wait till the last second, but it helps us actually get things done. Okay. Having an audience that you have to actually try to get to a specific result in a certain amount of time. If this is like example, 6 weeks, you want to teach them this entire piece of the business, okay, which is only 1/3 of your program. Even if you were to teach 2/3, by the way, they are still missing 30% of the entire model, which means that they technically would be really, really well framed, and you could sell them this, this other piece that they don't have yet. You could teach it, they could pay. There's so many different things you can do from here. But the point is, if you teach them an entire third of this, they're still missing 2/3, which means they still want and need you because you're gonna deliver this in a freaking expert fashion where they feel like they are masters of this in this short amount of time, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, 12 weeks, right? However long, just long enough for you to deliver what you feel like you need to deliver and not longer, because we all want to do things shorter and easier and get better results. And so if you can make it quicker and simpler and more fun, amazing. And that goes into another piece of this, which is that there's a community aspect here. Okay. And now the one other thing that you get that you don't get anywhere else is you get quick and direct real market reactions and feedback. You do not get that over here. The reason why is because you only get that your thing is selling or not. And you don't know why. There's too many factors here. There is the ads or the content, right? Whatever you're putting out, the media, we'll just call it, okay? There's the media. There's the sales process in and of itself, all right? There's technically the nurture process, like if you're doing emails and or more content, right, to nurture people. So is it the sales process, the nurture process? Is it if you have a video sales letter? Video sales letter. There's so many variables. So we're just going to put variables here. All right. Here, there's far less variables because, and we're about to get into the audience aspect, over here, you already have trust. Why? Because whoever, we're about to talk about this, whoever owns the audience that you're getting in front of transferred trust. They transfer trust automatically. Pre-filmed, there's no transfer trust, so you have to leverage authority a lot more, okay? Now, trust happens and the authority is transferred for you. So let's talk about this. How can you go about filming the module, getting in front of people, and in a perfect world, even generating sales from all this, okay? Now, granted, you could theoretically film your program and then like sell it to the people I'm about to explain to you. But at the same time, you just want to be thinking like, would it be more beneficial if I taught this to their people live and it felt exclusive? So that's the other thing is like, this feels exclusive and you can have them sign something. It's probably a better bet. I mean, I should advise you to always get things signed, but you can have like signed stuff where it's like they get to keep a copy for their own community and you get to keep a copy for yourself and use in any way that you wish. That means marketing material, that means anything. Okay. So you could directly take, if someone reacts in the live and you open up the mic on Zoom and you have 30 people on there from that person's community and they say something, you, as long as it's not like very private information, which we'll cover here in a second, then you could theoretically clip that out and use it as an ad, as long as you have the person sign the right stuff. Okay. So over here, you have to lean a lot more on authority because you're trying to sell something that no one's really been a part of yet. So it's like you're leaning on past authority. You're leaning on other like market leaders. If you could get, some like testimonials from other like recognizable top dogs in the industry. Okay. So that was comparing pre-filmed to live. All right. The other thing with live that I really like is that you kind of are killing like two birds, and it's a lot more than that. It's like 5 birds. Okay. You're generating sales, you're generating interest, you're providing value to other audiences in other marketplaces. You're getting the stuff filmed and it's forcing you to do it in a better way than you could have pre-filmed. And it's giving more context because you're getting real market feedback and live reactions where you can almost see people's faces as they react to what you just said. And then you need to adjust. And then the questions that you get help you understand how you might have formulated that or positioned it differently. And then you have the option to pre-film after, right? Some content to fill in the blanks. And so we're a huge fan of like finding a way to do it live. All we got to do is locate overlapping audiences. Okay. So the question is, who has, and by the way, that usually turns into some sales because whatever audience you're going to give or whatever audience you're going to like perform or do this in front of almost always is not going to be a direct competitor of you because you guys wouldn't have done that in the first place, right? Unless you're just trying to like give them your playbook, which is a little bit weird. So you want to look for complementary things or people who do something similar, but not quite what you do. Because believe it or not, there's a lot of overlap there. Some of your customers will become theirs and some of their customers will become yours, but now you're both growing at least, and you're not like, you have an affiliate, if you will. It's really smart. So how do we do this? All right, let's talk about this quite literally. So picture you have a Venn diagram here. All right, and you're looking for essentially people who have overlap with you. So let's call this you, and let's say, in this, I'll use the medical facility example, and then we'll go ahead and copy this and do another example. So let's do, in this case, it was like med spas, right? Right, and aesthetic centers. Now, you, in this case, let's pretend this is one of our growth partners that's doing the med spa, but pretend it's you for a second. Who do they overlap with? Well, what's interesting is there are coaches that teach only specific types of people how to do med spa stuff. And so one of their examples is going to be nurse injectors. But the funny thing is that people who run med spas are so many different types of people. They're doctors of any kind. They're nurses of any kind. Okay. And there's plenty of other people as well, because to run a med spa, you just need some certifications, you need some medical licenses, but you can partner with people. You could be the owner of a med spa and have no licenses, and you just contract out to a doctor. There's so many things that you can do. And so there's nurse injectors. There's also, let's say, laser companies. Now, let's say the laser company wants to have more educated people. Okay. They want education for their people to provide better services, because then they continue making their laser payments, they keep the lasers, right? And they make more money with the lasers, which looks better for the laser company. So if the people are better at business, better getting clients, ironically, is better for the laser company. They have more money to spend on more lasers. They just boost the reputation in the marketplace for lasers. And so, ironically, laser companies in this case, or injection companies, there's a lot of different caveats. I'm just using this as an example. Laser companies in this case, ironically, will actually pay. Not even is it free, they're actually paying you, okay, to create that program. Now, the best way to do it is to do it live. So and then obviously this is where the overlap comes in, is now you guys both have a partnership opportunity, which is where you film a program for their people live. They're getting education, selling more lasers, making more money. Their people are making more money. Everyone's happy. And this laser company paid you to do it because you're a professional and because you had that as an opportunity. And how do they know? Well, because you told them. You reached out to them. You said, hello. And you came up with a win-win. And if we go back up to our formula, right? Teaching an audience with a timeline. Okay, right here. Audience with a timeline, some sort of restraint, like a goal, an objective, basically. What are we teaching them? You can almost say timeline / goal, or you could say timeline / goal, or outcome. It actually might be the better formula. So it's like outcome. We should say specific outcome times audience times time restraint equals a better quality program. Okay. And less work, right? So I don't know how you'd put this formula, but you get the point. Plus less work overall. And so, like we said, you're killing like freaking 5 birds with one stone. There's so many pros and cons. There's so many pros. Sorry, there's so many pros to this. The cons is that it can be difficult to line these things up. So if you need a program in place because you need to sell someone immediately, yeah, just film the program, right? If you're not getting feedback and having the opportunity to partner with your quote unquote laser company, sure, just go for it. Now, ironically, check this out. Now, this person may not pay you. There's no payment there. Okay. In this example. However, when you guys partner and you teach their people, some of their people want the other things that you teach about business, and just in this case. Okay. So these people have learned how to make money now as a nurse injector, but how do they run a business? Let's assume that's what your thing resolved. You know, they don't know one other thing that you teach. Another piece of your, if we go all the way back up here, another piece of your model. Okay. And so, right, they want a piece of that pie. Now they're going to come pay for it. But what's cool about this is that ultimately you can actually segment and teach one of these. So if I go here, you could actually film it in a modular way and then sell it in a modular way. You could now sell that as a separate enclosed thing to resolve that one obstacle, or you could sell it all together, or you could sell 2/3 of it, or you could sell, do you get what I'm saying here? So what's really freaking cool about this, and you can use this with one of our other models that we show in one of our other videos, where it's ironically a mission statement, which you wouldn't think is like really powerful. And again, we can't take credit for creating it, but we're going to show you some cool stuff to do with it that you're going to love. And it's just a grid system that has you do your mission statement in a very interesting way. But what's cool is when you kind of compare those mission statements for some different like avatars. So you're comparing avatars and then the transformation. So you kind of walk out knowing the transformation or the goal, okay? Which really is, I'll explain in a different video. You just have to look at my channel. And then this is like avatar 1 in this case. When you compare, and you have to see the whole thing to understand what I'm talking about with this, but when you compare this one to this one, you may realize that one of those modules you could sell to these people immediately, like right away, like today. And that could be a lower ticket thing that turns into a higher ticket thing. It could be a low ticket model that turns into a call booking funnel. So what's really popular right now at the time I'm filming this video, and it could change by the time you see this video, but what's really popular right now is selling something, and I'm just going to draw it like that so you can imagine it's a little slice of one of our things, right? A piece of, or the whole thing. You could give away the whole thing or sell it. Some people are giving away a whole thing, okay, for an opt-in. So a lead magnet, right? This would be like a lead magnet, but it's a very high-powered and quality lead magnet. Why? Because you delivered it to someone other than just staring at your computer screen or your camera, okay? And because of that, all that real-time feedback and all the benefits that you got, right, that we went over here, all this stuff, because of that, you just built a way better program with a transformation in mind, okay? And because of that, you can now give away pieces of that thing. And guess what? They still need you because you didn't give them 100% of it. Now, even if you did give 100% of it, if it was something so difficult to do, we would almost recommend giving 100% because then they'll try to do it and realize how difficult it is to do and then just hire you to do it or hire you for the support in doing it so they can get their questions answered in real time, right? That's the benefit of your program and the thing that you're selling. But let's just assume you're giving away a piece of it upfront as a lead magnet, right? And then you get the opt-in. Guess what? You could do many things from here. You could, I mean, there's way more real steps to this, but just like a very simple overview of the process. You could send them to a call booking option where you can then like assess or put together some sort of game plan with them, which obviously turns into like buying your high ticket stuff, if that's what you're selling. Obviously, high ticket has its own benefits and downsides as well. Just kind of depends on what you want to go with. Usually you have to have a sales team or strong mechanism, which we'll have to talk about somewhere else. again, we're here to help you run up your brand, not necessarily like build your brand from the ground up. So some of these things we're just assuming you kind of already have in place. And if not, I'll try to get like trainings on them over time. But you might send them to a call booking option, or you might sell the second piece of that. Okay. And then go to a call booking because now they have like 60% of the system installed or the piece installed, and they can pay you higher ticket now, like more premium hands-on to install the last piece. I mean, that'd be a perfect world. I would love for clients to come in with 60% of their business already solved, right? And just installing, I guess this should be 66%, right? 33, 33, 33. And then they're just paying high ticket for the easiest last third. That would be an option. Again, or giving away the whole complex thing at a very low amount or some amount. You could sell this. This could be $19. You could do live calls to this or live webinars, right? And you could go over this stuff. So live webinar, which then directly turns into booked calls. Okay, there's lots of ways to do this stuff. So anyway, just wanted to show this to you because if you understand this concept, finding the overlap, let me give you one more example. All right, I'll give you another example. So let's say we'll use our company. Okay, so all right, so SGP in this case. All right, what do we want to do? We want to partner with brands. All right, so partner with existing brands. Okay, what we could do is we could go find sales agencies, for example, and we could teach them, okay, simple systems to make more sales, as that would be a piece of our triangle, if you will, is like making more sales. You want to make more sales. By doing so, people are going to learn that we run ads. Okay. And they're going to go, oh my God, you spend $50,000 to $100,000 a month for other brands. I would love for you to do the same thing for us. So now we got a benefit. They got a benefit, and we got to leverage their entire audience. And because of the trust factor, we went in already as an authority. Now compare that to the cold market. Imagine these people don't exist. All right. And we're just trying to launch our coaching program, if you will, if that's what it was. Okay. Oh my God. We have to package the whole thing, go out to the market, spend money or time, sell it, then get feedback. And man, the loop is just so much longer. So, the cycle going back to start is a longer cycle. In a way, it's even more work. It usually costs more money, and it usually takes more time, but it's a little easier. That's the caveat. It's easier. I have no one pushing back on me. I have no one asking really good questions. It's just like, shut up, take my thing, and this is what it is. On the flip side, okay, the circle's a little smaller when you do it live. Okay, you get more direct feedback. Again, I think it's Hermosi says like goodwill, or maybe it's Gary Vee, I'm not sure. But you sow goodwill into the market. By the way, if you do a good job, you also get respect from the person that you did it with or for. Okay. You boost instant authority. Okay. You have a better product. And it's a faster cycle to getting to the better product, because this longer cycle, right, is just a slower cycle to the better product. Okay. So hopefully you guys understood. just brainstorm. Just look at the overlap. What you're looking for is people who already help your people or do something similar, but totally different. I know that sounds weird. It could be their process, it could be their approach, it could be their focus, it could be whatever it is. Like maybe like let's pretend we're talking about some elite sports coaching. Okay, there might be, let's say it's a baseball coach. Maybe there's a baseball coach that specifically works on batting form. And then there's one that works on outfield only. And then there's a one that works on, like catching or umpiring, whatever you want to call it. Okay. All right. But maybe then there's one for pitching. These all are baseball coaches, but they're not the same thing. So if this guy trains these guys a little bit of batting form for their outfielders, okay, might not seem relevant, but there is a percentage of people in here that will want to do that and say, heck yeah. And then it cycles back. There's also a percentage of people that will want to do that. And now they feed each other. And those people, you just wouldn't have those people before, right? Not to mention the authority, the positioning, all the beneficial stuff that comes from that. Vice versa. The more you line up, right? The more you have feeding into your cycle. All of a sudden you create a little ecosystem. And again, all the benefits that come from doing this stuff live. Okay. The last thing I'm going to mention here is this, because I know I went a little bit deep, but all this stuff, all right, all of this stuff right here, if we go down here, the fact that you have a timeline, and I forgot to mention one thing here, which is, I need to go back and mention that in a second, but the fact that you have a start and a stop date forces you to reverse engineer way better. It just does. Because you have to think about them leaving with the result. Otherwise, it's like the whole program has failed. You feel like it's a waste of time. The other thing that I love about this, by the way, is that you can do it again and again and again and again. And if you feel like you're like, man, that was good, but not great. Okay. Teach it a second time. You don't want to film a whole program again, but can you reach out and find aligned people with audiences that already have like an email list or Instagram following or YouTube following, whatever, and just teach in front of their people? Dude, that's huge, huge, huge. So teach it a second time live. Do you think it'll be better? Do you think it'll be better the second time around? Of course it will. And now you get to iron out the material. So when you're ironing out the material, you get better and better and better at shooting for this result. Okay. So if it's a waste of time, like no one wants a waste of time. So you have to get better at getting the result in a shorter amount of time. Theoretically, if you could do it even shorter, imagine you can do it half the time. People love you even more. It's like, dude, I had to do less and got more. Do less, get more. Show me a person that doesn't like that. Everyone wants to do less and get more. It's like the name of the game, right? How do I do less and get more? Show me. Okay. So that's what this enables you to do. And that's very different from a pre-filmed program. You're not often going to get the feedback that you really want, and that's really going to improve you. Okay. So, and by the way, you've got to design this in a way, just by reverse engineering it, making sure that you're going from thing to thing to thing. And then the caveat is, how do you, like, we all had those classes where it's like homework. If you can get most of the homework done in the class, we love it even more. We love that teacher. We're like, dude, I got everything done. You designed this in a way where I got everything done, almost everything done, even 70, 80%, if that's possible. Before I left the class, dude, I love you because I want to go do something else after class other than more work. I was in school all day. I don't want to go home and be in school all day. Does that make sense? So if you can design it in a way, this is just a bonus, where all the homework is done by the time you leave the class. So the session is the homework. the session is active. You're kind of going between multiple things here, right? A little bit of active, a little bit of teaching. Active, I guess they'd be like doing something, okay? So maybe you have like the benefit of worksheets, fill in the blanks, exercises. You could have them pull up something. You can also use example people. So you're not talking at people, but you're talking with people by using an example person. They could technically share their screen. You could always cut that out of the recording if it's like sensitive information. If it's relatable to your market and you can leave it in, right? You get the point. And then you can fill in the blanks by anything that you're missing within the program. Just go in and film it after and go, okay, I feel like we touched on 90%, but there was this 10% that didn't really get touched on that live call because we got too distracted or went too long. And by the way, the benefit is, imagine you could do these in like 3 hours. You maybe could try to do it in 2, but let's just say 3 hours once a week for 6 weeks. That's nothing, people will commit to that because the alternative is they have to do it alone. And then they have questions and then they're not sure if they're going to finish. And that sucks, man. But even if I had to show up 3 hours once a week, dude, I will clear my schedule. As long as you tell me up front that's what it's going to be, I will do that. All because of this. I'm going to be done with the homework before I leave the class. I'm going to end that amount of time, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 18 weeks. I don't care. As long as it takes to get the result. Minimum amount it takes, right? You want your MVP, minimum viable product. You also want your minimum viable amount of time and commitment that I have to do. Make it easier for me, please. So if I can finish the homework on the session, amazing. Okay. The last thing I was going to mention on this, okay. And by the way, like you rarely ever are able to design a pre-film program, getting the result as well as it forces you to do in here, because when you're screwing this up, when this is not working, because you go from week to week, and then when some sort of group chat and maybe like Telegram or something, and you just pop all 20 people in there, right? Get their emails and everything, obviously, but just pop everyone in there so that they can ask real-time questions, okay? And you get super direct, quick feedback. Boom, 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 boom. It's rapid. And you're going to go week to week going, holy crap, these people didn't understand last week. I need to now adjust my design for the next week to cover any gaps in last week and build on the next week. It forces you to think fundamentally in a completely different way. Okay. So last thing I'm going to mention here, because I said I was going to go back to this, is the complementary thing. So I mentioned here, right? This would be like people who are, in this case, within the same niche or focus, and yet like a slightly different take on it, different position, different specialization, if you will. So specialized people are incredible for this. That's why, like, if you go look at doctors' offices, you'll find there are like these doctor groups, right? And there will be an ear, nose, and throat specialist. Then there will be naturopath specialist, and then there will be a skin specialist, and all within one group. And they are smart because what they're saying is you can come here to get everything. If I can't help you, I'm going to send you next door to the door next door to get it. And that's all you're creating here. Okay. Now, but there's a different caveat, which is more of I don't know how we want to use complementary. We could use complementary in this case as well, but it's a little bit different. Okay. These are specialists, but in a different lane that are serving your people in a different way. Like, so if we're going to talk about like health, for example, you might have the doctor, but then you might have supplements. And maybe specific types of supplements are going to gel more with a naturopath doctor. And so a naturopath doctor and a natural supplement company might want to collaborate. Okay, so I guess we could call these like collaborations. So the other one's complementary. These are collaborations. Okay. In a professional sense, maybe this is like, if you're teaching real estate, who are the people? CPAs, bookkeepers. There's probably other people as well. Like you could add more people in here. Attorneys, which I know kind of could be CPAs, but like specifically like property attorneys, real estate attorneys. Okay, so legal documents, all that kind of stuff. Imagine you find that they have an audience that you could teach something about in real estate. Wow. So maybe it's asset protection. Maybe they have a database of 10,000 people. What if they have 10,000 emails and you offer to teach in there? And you pick one of your pie slices and you go teach that thing. And you teach it over 4 weeks. I don't care if it's 4 weeks or 5 days. Depends on what you're teaching. Like, how do they have to practically do something and needs more time? If it's just information, great. I would wonder how valuable that is. Hopefully it's stuff that they can do. Ideally, it's things that you can do where you can measure the result. That's what you want, right? But you get the point. Okay. So if you're teaching real estate, there's going to be people who are overlapping in all these areas, and you kind of build this freaking BA network, right, of collaboration. And so all of a sudden, you have all your modules filmed. So going back up to like what this actually does for you, what it does for you is it gives you a simple way to film all your modules and to do it in a way that's just going to be super high quality. So filmed, high quality. Okay. It's going to turn into sales, like I already mentioned. And I know this is a lot to look at now, but it's going to turn into sales here because some of those people are going to say, I loved your first piece of the pie. What does the second piece look like? Right? And then the third piece, fourth piece, fifth piece, or depends on how you want to do it, right? Or I want to sign up for your entire 12-month coaching program if that's what you have. Or I want to buy your business in a box and install it over an 8-week period and pay you for some sort of chat support, email support, call support, Zoom calls. Maybe I'll do a weekly Zoom call and I can pay you for that. Come get my questions answered. So I don't want to go any deeper than this. The last thing I'll mention is almost always you have a system and support. Okay. You could be giving away the system. You could be selling the system. It doesn't matter. But either way, you're almost always either selling the support or, as Bermozzi would say, right? Of course, I always got to mention him because everyone thinks about that guy with everything now. Or you sell the implementation, which is what he would say. Okay. But you can also just sell the support too, which fundamentally then gets tiered into accesses, level of accesses to you. And, you might have levels of support. So if you guys don't know this, like Tony Robbins does one-on-one. He charges $1 million a year to do it. And he does a call a month, $1 million a year. You can have Tony Robbins as your one-on-one coach. But then you can hire his high-level coaches. So like he'll have top tier or mastermind. Which actually, I'm going to change that because actually it's mastermind. So Tony Robbins says it, mastermind. Okay, that's his platinum program, his date with destiny, all that stuff, right? And then he'll have like group events, which actually I guess that's the date with destiny because you could do that without being in platinum. Okay, so you have mastermind, which is like ongoing group. You have solo. Okay, you have group events, which is just like one-off experiences, which usually is an attempt to get you into that, which usually fundamentally upsells you into that. Everything is like a tier in this case, right? From group events, it keeps going and going and going. We'll talk about this another time, but I just want you to see how these things kind of work. And so with that said, I'm going to cut the video here, but I hope you saw the benefit of this. So again, the main takeaway here is that there is a way where you can film programs, come up with them, and film them where you're getting multifaceted benefits. And again, this is probably a little bit more advanced, maybe for someone who's already done teaching before. If you're brand new, maybe just like film the course and then try to sell it. But I would be immediately looking around. If you're an expert in your field, then you already have relationships. You have bookkeepers, CPA, people you've worked with, and just hit them up and just say, hey, do you know anyone that fits into this category that I can work directly with and teach their audience? Here's the things that I'd be teaching. I would screen share. I would show the model. I'd show a model and be like, this is what I want to teach. And there's these other 2 pieces, but we can't cover all that. But I can teach them this. I think within 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 5 days or 8 weeks, whatever. I could even charge. It's going to be up to the community leader and like who owns the audience. Do you think I should charge for this? Do you think I should give it away to you guys for free? ultimately, what will your people commit to and show up to? Because I don't want to do something for 6 weeks if they haven't paid anything, because they're just not going to show up. And then I'm wasting my time, you're wasting your time. And it doesn't look good for your audience either, because like no one's going to get a result. And so you sold this thing or gave this thing away, but no one did it. So there's no result and no one hears anything after the fact to judge if they should do any future stuff with you. So should we sell it? How much should we sell it for? Et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, that's the video. I hope you found that super helpful. I would love to hear from you below if you found anything confusing, what you found interesting. And I'll try to do more technical stuff like this too, because I do feel like it really helps like business owners, especially both on like the CEO vision side and then also on the operator side. And I feel like I'm really good at bridging the gap there and kind of connect the dots. So anyway, would love to hear from you guys below. Subscribe to my channel too, because at the end of the day, I want to put out more stuff, but I'm not really sure what direction to take this yet. And so I'm kind of playing with it and just going to put out what I feel like is beneficial and helpful. And we will go from there. Cheers. See you in the next video.